Skipper? But you died. At least, we thought so. How? We searched everywhere. Long story, but where I ended up wasn't any place you could find. Today on the Comic Book Report, Kraken by Shannon Eric Denton and David Hartman from Titan Comics. Stick around and check it out. Greetings everyone, my name is Dominic and today you're tuning in to the Comic Book Report, where we review comic books and graphic novels so you can get an idea of what to read. And today I'm excited to say I have one such graphic novel for all of you. That's right, we're taking a look at Titan Comics' Kraken. This is, I believe, the first part of the Monster Forge universe over there. Honestly, I didn't know much about this title before Titan was gracious enough to send me a review copy. So a huge thank you to my contacts over at Titan for sending this over. This was a ton of fun to make my way through. As a quick elevator pitch, I would say that this is a hard-boiled 20th century action serial fused with a cosmic horror book. I really just can't wait to talk about it more, but that is my tag or pitch line. And wow, yeah, Kraken is just a ton of fun. Before we dive into the review today, though, as always, I would also like to shout out our channel sponsor, Panelbound Comics. If you're looking to pick up your own comic book collected editions, I'd always encourage you to first check out their website. You can find a link to them in the video description, and if you see anything site-wide you like, you can actually use my discount code at checkout, The Comic Book Report, to save $2 off of your order. Please note if you use my affiliate link or code to make a purchase, I will earn a small commission, but it's one of the best ways to support this channel. Thank you so much for considering. Now let's get started with today's graphic novel review. First, some quick facts about today's collection. Today's graphic novel was written by Shannon Eric Denton with art by David Hartman. The graphic novel itself was published by Titan Comics in 2025. This volume itself collects Kraken. The graphic novel is part of the Monster Forge universe. And finally, this is a standard size trade paperback with glossy print paper stock, a glued binding, and a total of 112 pages. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and issue a general spoiler warning. I will be flipping through the content of today's collection and commenting on plot points throughout. You've been advised. Okay, with that taken care of, this is our first dedicated look at the front cover for today's trade paperback. I love the art here for Kraken. We have our central character gracing the front. We have all sorts of bad beasties along the bottom. Some of the supporting cast up top. We have this really cool font, kind of almost glowing neon green that spells out Kraken. Our creators at the bottom, and overall, yeah, just a beautiful cover. I should note, I think Mike Mignola did a direct market cover for this paperback as well. I'll throw up a quick thumbnail. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. As we begin to take a look at the spine today, we do have this little box up top that shows Monster Forge, which I do think is a shared universe, if not in print. We have a title here, Kraken. We have the last names of our creators, along with the Titan Comics logo there above the bottom. I do think that this is a pretty nice trade paperback spine, all pretty straightforward here. I think it has the critical details. You'll notice there's no Volume 1 number, but presumably that shared universe, Monster Forge, up at the top. Now, in the back of our trade paperback, we do have a couple things about the book itself. We have that title there. We have the Titan Comics logo, a Monster Forge logo, pricing information, and things of that kind. We also have a close-up view of our primary character there, donning his goggles and covered mouth. I really like this shot, and I'm just happy we got some bonus art here on the back cover. Don't always see that with a paperback, but I think in this case, it was really well selected. Okay, and now for all you prospective collectors out there, I did want to show a quick look at this book's binding. So we do have a glued binding today in this trade paperback. I think that this is a pretty standard trade paperback glued binding. I didn't really have too many complaints here. Not a ton of gutter loss, perhaps a little. You'll be able to see as I flip through as well, but I have no complaints. And now that we've gone over the exteriors and the build of the book, it's time to get started. Okay, and now as we make our way into the collection itself, as we open the front cover, we have some solicits for some other great Titan Comics titles. We do have a title page, followed by a publication information page, and then we do have another titled page. This time it has our creator breakdown there. We have the Titan Comics logo, Monster Forge, all that good stuff, and then we make our way right into the book. So as far as I can tell, this is a graphic novel. I'm not sure that these issues were released individually or if there are any issues to begin with. I think it's just a standalone collection, at least in this physical format, but please someone in the comments correct me if I'm mistaken here. But when we get into Kraken, we basically have this opening scene that basically feels like a prologue. It's basically this group of, I guess, smugglers, adventurers, high-flying characters who are basically trying to circumvent these kind of dastardly, otherworldly sort of villainous figures. We have this adventuring young man and his, I guess, girlfriend at the time kind of get away, get to their seaplane, and to try to fly off into the sunset. It feels very Indiana Jonesy. It has this really fun, lighthearted, swashbuckling tone, and that's immediately evident from the artwork and general vibe in these first couple pages. Like I mentioned at the top of this video, this feels like the perfect cross between a 20th century action serial with something like a cosmic horror. And where does that cosmic horror piece come in? Well, shortly after these initial few pages. During their escape, this main character gets aboard this plane, flies off toward the sun, and along the way he passes through this weird storm pink dimensional rift and disappears. His other friends presumably get away, and we then flash forward, I think a couple years if I'm not mistaken. It's definitely a good period of time, and he basically returns, and he is changed. He now wears a bandana or covering over his mouth and nose and has these goggles over much of his face, and he seems a bit battle-hardened. We also see him carry a treasure chest of what appears to be forbidden artifacts and such things, and he's basically going through some of his old stomping grounds, trying to find information, trying to find old allies, and trying to stop everything from this dimension he was lost in from getting through. He also knows he wasn't the only person to ever make their way into this other dimension. Now we have our character teaming up with his old ally. We have allusions to what happened to his old girlfriend character, though we don't see her until toward the end of this collection. We have him again reuniting with his old friend. He basically cryptically says, "I've been forever changed. No, I'm not dead, and there's some bad stuff on the way." Well, that bad stuff is largely in the form of Cthulhu-like cosmic horror tentacled monsters that come from this dimension. We also see him just showcasing a number of different abilities. Other than just being proficient in combat, he also seems to have access to his own kind of tentacled extremities, and what's going on below his little mouth guard appears to be kind of sharp teeth and more tentacles. He seems to be infused or kind of caught up in whatever makes everything else monstrous. He was tainted by this other dimension, presumably, but he is still a human, or at least he remembers being human, and he stands for a set of values, and he's still trying to fight for the side of right. And that's where him and his allies, who also team up with this other group of women who are their kind of own smuggler team, they basically all team up to try to stop these evil forces that are trying to awaken more dark creatures and things into this realm. And everything culminates with this kind of final epic battle where they're trying to stop these people from doing these horrible rituals and things. There's a village where their young children have been taken and basically corrupted by some of these tentacled beings, and him and his buddies are trying to stop this and trying to stop the big bads that were introduced at the beginning of the graphic novel. I really love how everything logically just culminates toward this direction. We have him going into his secret trunk of evil treasures, or kind of mystical treasures. He pulls out a kind of severed head that is magical and acts as a kind of compass at one point, and it's done in a kind of humorous, playful manner. A lot of interesting tropes and trappings from genres like this, but maybe never combined in this way. Honestly, this felt novel, it felt fresh, and I just really enjoyed it. This was an action series that was light on the cosmic horror, but just really heavy on the fun. I was entertained from the beginning all the way through the end, and at 112 pages, this wasn't an overly long series, and in that way, it never overstayed its welcome. I felt like we got a really satisfying story arc, beginning, middle, and end, with enough of an open door where I'm engaged for the future. I would absolutely read a sequel. I would absolutely read other things in this universe. I think that this this creative team is really onto something here. I am newer to these creators as well, but I felt like the writing was really strong, the character voices were distinct, the dialogue was great, and the fusion of all these genres and tropes and plots I just really, really loved. The art style as well I thought was really detailed, poppy, modern, and fun. I love the kind of animated, heavier outlines of the character models. It reminded me of, in a way, things like Mike Allred that also have those hard outlines. I don't know, I just really fit the world. It was visually distinct, and I just had a great time in this sandbox. I don't know how else to say it. I think my only drawback is there's not more titles in print within this universe at the ready for me to just devour and enjoy. Again, the characters are all so likable, and even though we do dabble into those cosmic horror depths, I still feel like it was played with, if not levity, at least kind of a lightness to it. I think that it's a really fun way to enjoy a character-driven action story that is light on these kind of monsters and cosmic dimensional horrors. I should say, after the day is saved, we do have our main hero, his allies, basically returning the children and the people to their villages, and then he ultimately makes contact with his old ex-girlfriend, and she has also been in the company of a lot of these interesting kind of monstrous or transformed figures like himself, and we even have this thing about Kraken's commandos, which I'm not sure if that's to pay homage to Creature Commandos over at DC or whatnot, but I loved it. I thought it was a fun tease and open door for what I hope is the future of a long and big franchise, because again, this was just a blast. A couple art pieces and a creator bio or two at the back, and that really brings us to the end of today's trade paperback collection from Titan Comics. Again, this has been Kraken, and I had just a really good time making my way through this title. Again, I knew very little about it. The art drew me in, the premise certainly did as well, and I think the execution was really, really fantastic. And now, the grade. For this adventure serial cosmic horror thriller, the Comic Book Report is happy to give Kraken by Denton and Hartman from Titan Comics Monster Forge a B. This was certainly an entertaining and above average reading experience for me that happens to hit on some of my favorite genres. I thought the characters were really likable from the jump, and they stayed that way all the way throughout. The art was engaging, particularly when he got to his monster designs. I thought the detail work there and the sense of motion in the action sequence was definitely commendable. I have high hopes for where this product or this universe goes from here. Like I said, I'll keep my eyes open for the sequel, and I hope that this is one I can discuss with some of you in the comments. Have you picked up Kraken? Is this a book you're considering reading? What other Titan Comics hits have you been enjoying lately? Let me know all of that and more in that comments section. Again, a huge thank you to those at Titan for sending this over, and until next time, this has been the Comic Book Report. Please don't forget to leave your like, those comments we talked about, and maybe check out another one of my videos on your way out. Thanks everyone, bye.